Hello and welcome to Blah Blah Comics, Blah Blah Curse Words. I'm Derek.
I'm Colby.
And we are once again talking about comics sometimes.
Yes, very late at night.
Yes, we are once again recording a Blah Blah Comics After Dark. It's been a hectic week for me, and I don't know about you, Colby, but it's been hard to try to get our schedules together. But we wanted to make sure we recorded a new show for you, the fan.
Yes. Well, we did actually...
assuming we have one fan.
Yeah, that one person. Oh, he's so cool. We also actually got to see each other in person for the... we've seen each other a few times, but actually got to talk a little bit at the Yellow City Comic Con.
Yeah, the reason we haven't recorded podcasts lately is because I was at a comic convention promoting the first issue of my comic Legends of Streaming this last weekend, and you came up to the show and chatted and got a comic.
Yes, it was odd, and I gotta say, I'm not just saying this because you're my friend. I really enjoyed it. I will sincerely
that makes me really
keep
happy.
reading it because I liked it, and I know you probably don't want to plug your book constantly, but I will say if anyone has a chance to pick it up anywhere or see you at a convention or you guys start selling it online or anywhere at all, I would highly suggest people to get it anywhere they can because it's good. It's very good.
And on that note, I will say the best way to get in contact with us right now is either through my Twitter. I am at VoodooBen, as we always say at the end of the show. Also, the comic does have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/streamingthecomic. STREAMING the comic. And yeah, hit us up on there. We'll be happy to mail out books. We got a few copies that we can send through the mail if you're interested. So let us know. We also, speaking of our fan, we got a fan email that I mentioned last show. I totally forgot to read on the show, but we're going to go ahead and do on this show. His comics are already in the mail. Josh asks us, or more specifically demands, talk more about Marvel Star Wars. Or to frame it in a question, why don't you talk more about Marvel Star Wars? And that's a good point because I do remember when the first couple issues of Marvel's Star Wars books started coming out, we were pretty positive on them, and then we kind of didn't really talk about them further. Colby, you said before the show you were reading them.
Yeah, I've kept up with them for the most part, and I don't know why we haven't talked about them because they are really, really, really good. I think we've just had so much news and so much things happening. That I won't say it's drifted to the back burner because it hasn't. I think I'm still buying them based off last month's solicits and sales. They are selling incredibly well. Like if I looked at the sales figures right, Convergence and Star Wars is pretty much all that sold last month. Like the top 10 was nothing but that.
It was kind of amazing. DC knocked out every Marvel comic except the Star Wars comics on the sales chart for last month. And, good for them. I'm actually really happy for DC on that end. But yeah, I too have been keeping up with the Marvel Star Wars comics. And I gotta say, the level of quality from book to book is very, very high. I think Princess Leia is probably the weakest title.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with that one.
And just that it feels very much like a workman-like comic.
Yeah, Leia, I read the first issue and kind of drifted on it, but Star Wars proper and Darth Vader have been every issue not only solid, but really fun and really good, and kind of just filling in these gaps for the new I don't want to say new canon, but since the extended universe is gone, filling in gaps that no longer have anything to fill in with them.
Right, and as somebody who really had an on-off love-hate relationship with the previous Star Wars Expanded Universe, it wasn't something I ever explored as deeply as I felt like I should. I am deeply, deeply enjoying the new Star Wars comics, and I feel like I said, whereas Leia definitely feels like it's a book that Mark Waid is writing because he's making a very good paycheck, and Terry Dodson is drawing because he's making a very good paycheck, and they're putting all of the quality of work that you expect from a Mark Waid and a Terry Dodson into the book. That just, it doesn't have the same kind of passion that I feel like we're getting from Jason Aaron or from Kieran Gillen on Star Wars and Darth Vader, respectively. Darth Vader in particular has been one of my favorite comics since its debut, and I really did not expect that to be the case.
No, it's you can tell Gillen and Aaron, they're probably both people that were huge Star Wars fans, and they know these characters well. They get what makes them them. I mean, I said it when we first talked about it. Just from the way the characters talk, you know it's those characters. Like, even if they're off-panel talking, you know who's talking because of the phrase and because of the wording, which is something that a lot of people take for granted, but when it's not characters you created, that's very hard to pull off. And they do it, both of them.
That's absolutely true.
They do it so well. so well. Like I don't know why we haven't been talking about them more. Honestly, that's a really good demand or question because they are awesome. I think we're just in the middle of event season, and it's been like this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Movie news. So
yeah.
Sadly,
one that has been an absolute surprise with me. I actually did read the first 2 issues of Kanan the Last Padawan, which is the comics tie-in to the Star Wars Rebels cartoon, which I have tried and more or less not been able to fall in love with as much as I've dug on the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show. It's good, but it's not really capturing my fancy. But the comic, Kanan the Last Padawan, may be the best of the comics coming out of Marvel right now for Star Wars.
I've heard that, and it sold really well.
Darth Vader.
Yeah. I didn't pick it up because I'll be honest, I looked at it as another like TV comic tie-in, and I was like, oh, it's just like a tie-in for kids or something, whatever. And I read the reviews and saw the sales, and was like, holy crap, this is legit.
It is. It's really solid, and it kind of reinforces a kind of weird theory I've been developing as to why Star Wars has managed to maintain its popularity over the years, which is in the Star Wars universe, the galaxy that Star Wars takes place in, the entire galaxy, all the planets, all the systems, everything is Gotham City. It's all, a hive of scum and villainy. It's all smugglers. It's all bounty hunters. It's all... For more or less, what you really see, especially post-Republic and into the time of the Empire, what you really see of that universe is the dark side of the underbelly of that universe. That's where we spend most of our time as characters. Jedi Knights are the Batmans. They're this force of good and right and occasional force, quite literally, yes, in terms of strength of arms, that is trying to defend and make this galaxy a better place. So it's Gotham and Batman on quite literally a galactic scale.
That could totally make Darth Vader Winter Soldier.
Hey, that's true. And but I think Kanan really kind of plays into that because he's
Red
a Jedi.
Hood. I'm gonna go say Red Hood in the Gotham comparison.
That's true. Yeah, that works better. But in the Kanan series, it's about how he was a Jedi in training, and he has to learn to survive in this universe, and he's kind of having to compromise some of his own Jedi morals in order to survive. And he's kind of following not the dark side, but a darker path, a path that's going to make him become, a smuggler and a Jedi in hiding and all of that. And it just kind of reinforces that idea of the Star Wars galaxy is actually not the nicest place to live. And it may just be because... when Star Wars first came out, the best character was the smuggler. And then, Boba Fett is probably the most popular character in the entirety of the Star Wars universe. So when you have those, fragments and archetypes as the most popular bit of the series, those are the ones that you're going to keep going back to. So that may be why the Star Wars universe tends to slant that way, it seems like. But I kind of like the idea of... the entire galaxy, especially, like I said, once the Republic's fallen and the Empire takes hold, the only way to survive in this galaxy is to become corrupt, is to become something morally ambiguous, and that these few remaining Jedi have to become the symbols of, the symbols, literally, the thing we always talk about Batman. They have to be the symbol of something better.
Yeah, they have to be the whole held to a better standard so people can look up to them. And know that there's a force of pure good and not just the dark side.
Right. Even though they'll never, they'll never accomplish their goal. They'll never get rid of all crime. They'll never make the galaxy a better place. Ultimately, they have to try.
Yes. There was
my dog is squeaking his
I heard that. I was wondering what that was. That's okay. Speaking of that, the more news on the Boba Fett film came out.
I haven't heard anything other than there is going to be a Boba Fett film, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, that was pretty much the big news, and the director left or something. But yeah,
was it the Josh Trank news?
Yeah, he left, and the Boba Fett film. It's one of those things where it could be amazing, but Boba Fett could be one of those characters that almost like a Hulk, where he may not work by himself as well as people want him to.
Right, exactly.
and that's what I'm.
He's or a Wolverine, I think, is a really solid comparison.
Oh yeah,
Wolverine lost a lot of mystique when he was no longer the badass loner with the past and the secrets.
Yeah. No, Boba Fett could very well be that, and I don't want to see him go down the road because I kind of like how he is. If they can do a really cool,
right, exactly.
If they can do it really well or really cool, it'd be. I mean, of course, I'm always for more good movies and more good Star Wars movies. I just hope to God that they don't just mess it up. A lot of people have said it. Nick Mundy, who was on the show, not that long ago, he said it too. That you want good movies, but you don't want it to be like, okay, here's this movie, and then here's this movie, and you start losing excitement and start losing why you're a big fan.
Right.
What I'm afraid
Which
of.
I think that actually is not a terrible segue into the primary topic of this show. We still want to do our Age of Ultron.
Yes, it's our Age of Ultron spoiler cast.
Yes. It's been a couple weeks. We figure everybody who was planning to see Age of Ultron has seen it by now.
It's made almost
we
$1 billion.
Like we can talk about the movie as a whole. Yeah. And I know it worked for me a lot more than it worked for you.
Well, this is what it is. Age of Ultron, I am the most conflicted I've ever been for a movie, Avengers movie. Because on one hand, I love it, and I don't want to say. I think we can both say we loved it. It's a great film.
I adored it.
Yeah, it's a great film. If you're looking for some angry, just don't see it kind of reviews or spoilers, you're not going to hear it here because I did love it. I have my problems with it, but what it is, this film captures like splash pages better than any film I've ever seen.
That's a really solid way to put it. I like that a lot.
I think how Funhouse, a group of people I really like, part of Rooster Teeth, how they put it is, a lot of films have been Stan Lee in the Marvel Universe. This is very Jack Kirby. Ah,
nice. Which is kind of weird that you put it that way, because this is also the film where supposedly Joss Whedon felt the most creatively restrained, and Marvel stepped in and did more than they usually do. So you kind of wonder, is the Jack Kirby-ness, is that Joss Whedon slipping through, or is that Marvel Studio trying to inject a little Kirby into it?
I don't know. Well, we'll get more into it later, but specifically what Whedon had said, the scene that bothered me and a lot of people was the dream sequences. Apparently Whedon wanted in the film, but Marvel didn't, so how they compromised was they basically did the Thor Ragnarok promo in the middle of the film.
Right.
And, apparently Whedon, that wasn't, he had nothing to do with that, the extra Thor scenes, and that was the one I think stuck out to a lot of people, because it's not bad, but kind of turns into a Thor film for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and again, I was super okay with that, and I can definitely understand why a lot of people weren't, but I am perfectly fine with them seeding Ragnarok and seeding the Infinity Gems, and if it was something that was going to be in the film anyway, adding that, those one or two extra beats doesn't seem like a huge compromise to me. No, I think
that's just a weird thing. We're really just, as me or anyone who's picking at it, it's very nitty gritty picking, because once again, it's a great film. There's just, you can tell, you can see the studio influence in this one more than the others, where you can tell they're like, okay, well, we gotta push Black Panther, we gotta push Ragnarok, we gotta push Infinity, we gotta push this stuff. So, and I understand it's Avengers, you're gonna have to have that in there.
Right. And I think to that, I think they did a pretty smart overall, especially the Black Panther stuff, because you can't have adamantium in this film. You have to have Ultron built out of a stronger metal. Vibranium is the strongest metal Marvel has the rights to. And it makes sense to finally seed that here. I thought that was pretty brilliantly done.
I love how you put that, the strongest metal Marvel has the rights to. I still to this day hate so much that that's such an issue. Like, it didn't bug me so much in the film having Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch not hadn't mentioned Magneto, but I think I even texted you how it feels to me now is like the Marvel universe almost feels like the Ultimate Universe, and the X-Men films feel like the 616 universe.
Right.
Because it's like, it's a cool, I think Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch for the most part were handled extremely well. I mean, for them to have to basically not be allowed to use any of their backstory from the comics.
Right.
It was really well. Although now that the comics are retroactively making them not, we'll see how that handles everything.
Yeah, I've actually read a number of the old everything you knew about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's parentage was wrong. I've read all the issues where their parents were actually the Wizard and the Wizard, excuse me, literally the guy that ran fast who also dressed completely in yellow, and I want to say Liberty Bell, but they were old All-Star Squadron members, and their names were actually Pietro and Wanda Frank, and it was oh god, who was it? Shooter? I feel like those were during the Shooter era, but they might have been scripted by DeMatteis. I can't remember. Anyway, it's in the late 100, early 200s when those issues happen. One, they're boring as sin. Two, they've completely inoculated me to the idea of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's parentage being in question again, because it's happened so many goddamn times. Nobody really cares at this point.
And let's be honest.
I will go back to something that we've kind of talked about before. I really feel like the whole ownership of Quicksilver issue could have been sidestepped really brilliantly had Marvel been the bigger company and just went with North Star.
Yeah.
Because, he's a mutant. He's a gay mutant, which meant we would have had our first LBGT mutant on screen. He's actually faster than Quicksilver and can fly, which would have made the Quicksilver scene even more badass in that one film.
Yeah, and I really wonder this, and I know they won't say because they keep on saying, like I said, we're going straight spoilers here.
Of course.
I wonder how much of Quicksilver's death had to, if any of it had to do with the X-Men movie, just for the fact of Quicksilver in this film was really, really, really great.
Yeah.
In X-Men Days of Future Past, they may have perfected him.
Right, exactly. They were both astonishing performances. After the movie, I looked at my wife and said, it's really not fair that in a combined total of probably about 35 minutes of Quicksilver between two films, he's been done more right and more fun in those 35 minutes than he has in 40 years, 50 years of continuity in comics.
No, it's true. And what's sad is I think there's so much potential for that character, and it didn't bug me because I feel like I'm okay with him dying in the film, but it is kind of like it doesn't feel like it matters that much where you have all these characters that you've known for 5-6 movies and they're setting up a death, and then Quicksilver dies and you're like, okay, I've known him for about 20 minutes. That's
what it was and I that's one of the few places I feel like Whedon overplayed his hand. It was it's so pointed, traditional Hollywood narrative said at that point that either Hawkeye was going to die or his family was going to die.
Yeah.
A lot of people I've heard thought it was going to be Hawkeye's family. I just figured Hawkeye was going to do it because it's so traditionally narratively set up that way. And even Quicksilver's line, bet you didn't see that coming. Yeah. That wasn't for Hawkeye. That was for us.
Yeah.
That was for the audience. It was really wink, wink, nudge, nudge in a way that if I hadn't, like I said, really adored the movie up to that point, I think I would have been a little bit more offended by.
Yeah.
Like if that had happened to Man of Steel, I would have been like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
But it happened in Avengers, and I was like, okay, I'll let that one slide.
Yeah, exactly. We can let all this stuff slide, but looking at it, it's just like if it wasn't Avengers and wasn't Whedon, it's just really weird that. To be, I don't know. It's this weird area where I'm with you. If it would have been another film, it would have bugged me way more.
Right. And that's definitely true for a lot of the problems in this film.
Yeah.
So many things in this film that I'm really giving, and I can feel myself giving it a pass because of the legacy of the films that came before it, and the director that made it, and my love for the characters and the actors playing those characters in this film.
Well, I do want to bring up one more thing, and then we can get to all the good. Because there's a lot of good,
sure.
and I don't want to be all negative here.
Of course.
The biggest thing that bugged me, and I don't see it brought up enough, unless I'm just forgetting something major, Iron Man 3 ended with Tony Stark blowing up all of his suits, with him basically, saying he doesn't need to be Iron Man anymore. He's not Iron Man anymore. Right. Avengers starts, he's Iron Man again, and has every suit again.
Right. Well, the thing about that, and I really feel like they really just dismissed it in like 2 lines of dialogue. And another thing that I've said about the film a lot is that you can really feel the gears grinding on this one in a couple of places. Whedon wrote S.H.I.E.L.D. into an earlier draft, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't exist anymore, so he had to basically pull a shield out of his ass.
Yeah.
Literally, he pulled a helicarrier out of his butt.
Yeah.
And then the whole Tony Stark thing was, Tony's whole deal in Age of Ultron is we need to retire. We need to make this world better so we don't have to do this anymore, which I feel like was a reflection of his decisions and the themes of Iron Man 3, but also there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff there too of, Robert Downey Jr. didn't expect to come back for another film.
Yeah.
Post Iron Man 3, so he was pretty much done with the franchise, and they kind of had to remake it so that he was okay with it again. And I really kind of, again, something I completely just let slide, even though if it was another property, I probably wouldn't. But yeah, that was basically, it was kind of in that line of dialogue of, I wanted to create a suit of armor around the world. What he's trying to do is be Iron Man until he doesn't have to be, until they, find the scepter, and then he can do it. It's like he keeps finding excuses to come back for one more mission. Thor asked him to find the scepter, Loki's scepter. Yeah. Sure, he's going to go on these missions until they find Loki's scepter. Then he's done with the suit. Well, the Iron Legion isn't quite up to snuff. We'll just do this one more thing, and then I'll put down the suit. Well, Ultron is, destroying the world, and it's technically my fault. Then I'll put down the suit. And I really kind of feel like that's his character arc for this film.
I agree. It's just, where did he get any of the suits again?
Dude, it takes him like 5 minutes to build a suit.
It's true. I agree. It's just, like you said, I know there's more behind the scenes and backstage stuff behind it. It's just weird. This like, oh, you're not even going to address it. Okay, whatever. But once again, I can let it slide. That's probably the big thing. Instead of that, this film's awesome. Like, I want to say that opening scene is the best way to open an Avengers movie with none of the bullcrap, none of the let's get the team back together. We need to find people. Just straight up Avengers doing Avengers things.
Yeah, Avengers avenging in the best way. And then the party scene after that was everything I wanted that party scene to be. It was, all the characters, all the side characters, joking, having a good time, really showing the interconnectedness of these characters as people in a way that we're almost trained to not expect from films anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, spending that much time on these characters out of costume, but with the characters, was just an incredibly sweet, really fun bit. And I do want to say this as a positive, but I do want to go back to something I kind of teased on our last show. How, skipping ahead, I really feel like, especially the third act, Avengers Age of Ultron is a huge reaction to Man of Steel, and maybe to a certain extent some of the criticism leveled at the first Avengers film, in that the entire third act is basically, let's save all the civilians first.
Yeah.
I mean, we will defeat the villain, and we are going to stop as many of them as we can while we're saving civilians. And admittedly, there was a lot of lip service paid to saving civilians in the first Avengers film too. Cap evacuating the building, trying to get all the buildings evacuated through the tunnels and the sewers. There was not an ignorance of civilian casualties in Avengers, but it was really turned up to 11 in Age of Ultron in a way that definitely felt like a dick slap to Man of Steel.
Well, even the line that we can is something about we have to make sure everyone's gone. I won't leave this rock until every single person's gone. Not one person can be remaining here.
Yeah. Or what really sold it for me was when Tony's sensors were scanning that collapsing building, and there was one family of 4 left, and he almost sacrificed himself saving that one family. That was where I was like, oh yeah, that's a big fuck you to Man of Steel.
No, I agree.
I was totally happy with it.
No, like I hope to God that Superman has more of that, because that's, like you said, that's a very, very Superman thing to do. That's like what we expect from. That is what we expect from Superman, not Iron Man. So I could very well see that being we looking and seeing like all this negative criticism for all superhero films, saying, well, they're saving the day, but they've also 1 billion people probably died.
Right, exactly. And Whedon on the commentary track for Avengers, maybe a little glibly, kind of said, all those buildings are getting destroyed. Those are the evacuated ones. Those, we've already saved the people in that one. So I think he may have even been trying to atone a little bit for himself. Completely just rambling here. Was James Spader not fucking amazing as Ultron?
I was shocked the direction they went. Like, they didn't even put any like overtone over his voice or anything. It was just straight up James Spader.
Yep, and clearly just having a blast. I can't remember when it happened, but I think it was after they cut off Claw's arm or something, and Quicksilver grabs Scarlet Witch and runs off, and he's like, "Oh, guys!"
Yeah,
it's just the delivery of that line was just so human, and they cast Spader because Spader is so, he would play it. He would not play it as a robot. He would play it human. And then, of course, the Hulk throwing him out of the plane. He's like, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Yeah,
that was just so the dry, sharp, smart, funny. It was, I have read a fuck ton of old ass Avengers comics, and my Ultron is very megalomaniacal, prone to speechifying, very like you said, very Stan Lee influenced, and this was not in a way that I adore.
Well, I mean, they straight up address it even where they have the typical he's about to monologue, and it's like just blast Tony away like and does a whole I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
it's perfect because that's you don't want to fall into that territory. I mean, Incredibles have covered it. This covered it. It's very you want to avoid that territory at all costs.
Right, and again, kind of, and I hate to keep bringing up the first Avengers film, but they also did that with Loki when Loki started off his monologue to the Hulk ragdoll scene that stands in the hearts and minds of all fans as one of the greatest scenes in a superhero movie. Period.
Hulk didn't talk in this film at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Although, did you see,
and I think that worked.
Did you see how close Grey Hulk was to be in the film?
Yes,
which is a very interesting choice.
Yeah, I think the scene with the Hulkbuster armor might have played a little bit better had it been Grey Hulk, because then it would have really sold the dichotomy of the two different Hulks.
Yeah,
or the brain affected Hulk. But even though they just kind of slightly altered his skin tone, it was good.
Yeah,
I think Grey Hulk would have been better, but I was perfectly happy with it. Vision.
Oh yeah, Vision is
like, I think you were the person who told me that Vision is kind of the Hulk of this film.
No, he definitely is. Like, he's in it a little, but everyone comes out of it. That's normally their favorite character and favorite part. He has amazing parts in it.
Well, he's got both of the best surprise reveals in the film.
Yeah.
First when he picks up Thor's hammer, and then when he uses it to beat the shit out of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Were both just, stand up and cheer moments in the movie. And then just Paul Bettany really selling it. I really liked the lead up to him handing Thor the hammer, where he's basically saying, "You're right, you can't trust me. I was built by a villain. I have just barely gained consciousness in a body. I have no idea what the fuck I am. But we've got to stop this guy." And it's a great jaw drop moment that was handled really well by everyone on set. Just a real joy. And I think, again, that really comes down to, even with all of its more noticeable flaws, it's just there's so much joy on screen at every moment. You can tell, as hard as it was to make, everyone making that film had a tremendous amount of fun.
Oh yeah,
it's so much fun to watch. It is spectacular popcorn fare. It's not a perfect film. I will go on record as saying I truly believe the first Avengers movie is a perfect superhero movie, probably the best superhero movie, and inarguably it has the best moment in a superhero movie, which is the big 360-degree, all the Avengers together in the rubble, gearing up to take on another attack that made it in the trailer for the first film. Age of Ultron is not that, but it is the sequel to that movie in every way. It doesn't skimp on being that movie's next film.
No, and that's what I love about it. Like I said, from the beginning, it starts off there together. It's a comic book in a really great way. One thing I am curious about is if it will be good or bad. Is the using the mind gem for Vision?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's just a red herring to throw everyone off, or if it's...
Well, see, it's interesting because his gem in the comics wasn't, but Warlock had the soul gem in his forehead, and I'm wondering if Vision is going to kind of take on the Warlock role for Infinity War.
I'm wondering that too, because we've had like a few Warlock Easter eggs, but we have. I mean, unless Guardians of the Galaxy 2, he's a big part. There's no way to set him up. I kind of feel like
he's gonna have to be.
Yeah, because I'm sure we will eventually see Warlock in some fashion. We may even see him in Infinity, but like you said, he's same reason with why Spider-Man probably won't be as big a thing in Civil War as in the comics. Like, they're not set up enough right now. But I'm just curious now because are you gonna straight up have Thanos come and just rip the gym out or kill Vision. Although that would be, I think that would be an incredible thing in Infinity War if it just starts off literally with probably the strongest character in the Marvel Universe going up to him and him dying in 2 seconds.
Right. It is going to be interesting to see how that is handled. Also, what I'm really curious about is the mid credits tease, because you said that the middle of the film is where you get your Thor Ragnarok preview.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we just saw the end of that movie, because if they use the continuity that they've set up, there's the Infinity Gauntlet is in Odin's treasure room in Thor. So I kind of feel like that was Thanos. Thor Ragnarok is going to be Thanos killing Asgardians for 2 hours and then claiming his gauntlet at the end of the film.
See, I've heard a lot of things about that too, and no matter what, you have to do some tricky stuff, because you could even argue that Loki's on the throne, and you could have maybe Thanos still has some control or always had control over Loki, but even then, same thing. You'd have to have some kind of, and even like how that scene is set up, it's obviously in this armed place, because it's like 2 or 3 security doors opening before he walks in, and obviously held up in a tight place. And you could argue that's the Collector's place, but no, in the Collector's place got blown up in Guardians. That the only thing I can think of in the cinematic universe that place looked like was probably the trophy room.
Right. So we'll see, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing.
Oh yeah.
I've told you in text, and I may as well just confess it here. I kind of feel like I give the Marvel Cinematic Universe more of a pass, and have a deep and abiding love for it, in much the same way a lot of people my age, and even you, even though you're significantly younger, people who dropped out of comics for a while and then came back, they have a very similar love and adoration for the DC animated universe, especially Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
Because while they weren't reading comics, that was still a place to get the feel of their comics and get the continuity and ideas and stories that they loved and characters they loved reflected in a medium that they otherwise weren't really getting, because comics at the time were something that, for whatever reason, they'd walked away from. And I'm kind of, making a slow but steady migration away from Marvel and DC as a comics company. I'm still reading plenty of back issues, but as far as buying new material, I've more or less stopped. But I still have the Marvel Cinematic Universe to see and discover and love these characters. So I may be giving them more of a pass or letting more slide than I normally would, because that's my Marvel Universe now.
Yeah. No, it's understandable, and as I've said, Marvel found a formula that works. I'm just worried that because of how strong-holding they're becoming for that formula, I'm worried that it may become something stale. To me, it hasn't gotten stale yet. It's just, I think this is the first one where people can kind of sense that, hey, we're kind of getting, like Winter Soldier really changed the game up, because like Kevin Feige recently said that someone asked him at a Q&A if there'd ever be a dark turn in the film, and he's like, no, we're focused on, there will be dark parts in it, but it'll always be focused on comedy. But I kind of have to argue that Winter Soldier had comedy in it, but it was a darker in tone film.
It was, but it wasn't Man of Steel, and I think again that's what he was reacting to. It wasn't, the Man of Steel, Batman Superman trailer of somebody painting false god on a statue of Captain America in Central Park.
See, and that's true, but I'm just kind of worried that I don't like when anyone limits themselves to anything.
Right.
And I hope that's just a public saying of where they're going to say that, and if they need to do it, they'll do it, because, like I said, as we go on, there's certain stories that if they do, they're going to have to go at least some pretty dark turns here and there.
Well, I remember reading somewhere recently, I think somebody on Twitter posted that there was a leaked Civil War script.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I got out of it, actually, now I think about it, I remember you saying something about it too. But the only thing I've heard that I think could actually work, and I'm kind of wondering if this announcement is more of maybe a last-ditch effort on Marvel's part to drum up interest in the film, but apparently Ant-Man is somewhat the cause of the Stanford equivalent incident that sets off Civil War.
Let's see what the one. See, this is the problem with all stuff. The one that I had read, it was basically Bucky. It was Winter Soldier being the cause of it.
Okay,
but it was still that. I don't see. This is weird stuff because all these I do believe probably a part of the script was leaked and people are switching it out. But there's so much similarities in it that I'm sure some of it is true. So I don't want to go into it because I did read a lot of what is supposedly one of the leaked scripts. But
right.
But
they did shortly before that rumor happened. Marvel did announce that Paul Rudd's Ant-Man is definitely going to be in Civil War, and I don't think we've heard anything about Bucky for sure confirmed.
I think
for Civil War.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he's been confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Because they recently released everything, and it's pretty much everybody except Hulk.
Yeah,
and even
Which
Hulk's
is crazy.
Rumors, yeah,
and then also Martin Freeman's in it. Most likely, the rumor is Everett Ross, which is a perfect role for him.
Yeah,
this is the one that everyone thought that Avengers was overstuffed with characters, and I didn't think so.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried the new Captain America movie is.
Yeah, because this is this is looking like Avengers 3, basically.
Right, exactly.
With more
it's
people.
11 main named characters.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you have all the Avengers minus Hulk, but then plus Spider-Man's been an introduction, plus Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Winter Soldier being involved, Ant-Man being involved, possibly Doctor Strange doing something.
Possibly Captain Marvel, because apparently Whedon actually had Captain Marvel in his initial Age of Ultron draft and had to scrap her.
Yeah, so that's 6 more big names that we can four of those pretty much are guaranteed.
Right.
2 of those are basically.
There's 11 named Marvel hero-ish characters in the film already. Age of Ultron had 13.
Yeah.
So 11 in a movie that's not an Avengers movie seems like a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Minus Hulk and Thor. Thor's the other one, of course. But
right, because Ragnarok.
But yeah, that's a lot of people. I mean, this of course Russos are taking over for Whedon, so it's a very good test.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel that even if Ant-Man bombs in the theater, which I think people are a lot more trepidatious about Ant-Man than they ever were about Guardians, and for good reason. Captain America: Civil War is still going to make all the money in the world. Yeah,
because I mean, Guardians people are trepidatious about, but then the trailer came out and people that first trailer hooked everybody.
Yep.
And
everybody who was trepidatious about Guardians saw the first trailer and was like, yeah, never mind, we're good.
Yeah, Ant-Man has had that problem with the first trailer, like we openly said, and most people said, it didn't know what it was, and the second trailer is way better. Way better.
It is way better, but I'm also afraid it's too little too late.
Exactly. First impressions are huge, and then second impressions matter, but not as much. And when people have all these superhero films coming out, if they don't see them they like, much like the Suicide Squad stuff, people are getting angry about anything and everything now. It's
that's what the internet's for.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, it's the internet, so these more likely they'll still see it. They may bitch about it, but they'll still see it. And I hope so, just because Ant-Man, as much as if it's a good movie, I want it to do really well, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And I think it could be because now that it seems like they know more what it is, it seems fun, it seems entertaining, it seems like it'll be a good ride.
It's got a great premise.
Yeah.
I just hope that it delivers on that premise.
Exactly. That's the hardest thing to do because as we're seeing it with a lot of different characters, sometimes creators like to focus on the wrong parts of superheroes in particular. And if they focus on the wrong parts, we get much like a Superman story where it's all about him having a new power. It's like, yeah, it's cool for a second, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
Right.
We don't, and with Ant-Man, same thing. You want to have that cool, fun moments with Ant-Man. You want to have the cool, fun stuff about, hey, he turned small. He basically is super strength when he's small. He can telepathically talk to ants, and there's all these crazy bug stuff. But you also don't want to focus just on that.
Right. Well, the idea of a heist movie with superpowers, I think, is a tremendous blend of genres that I'm honestly surprised hasn't really been done yet. So it's definitely got that. This is a different type of film going for it.
Yeah.
But just the behind the scenes stuff has been so public, and then what hasn't been public has been so wildly speculated on that it may have doomed the film before anybody ever saw it.
Oh, really quick. Out of all the Mark Millar books that are getting made into movies, the series wasn't great, but if you got like Matthew Vaughn to do it, there could be an amazing Super Crooks film.
Absolutely, yeah. That's actually one of my more enjoyed Millar miniseries, and I really feel like that's the next one that if Vaughn wants to do something with him, that's the one he should tackle, because holy shit, Chrononauts is boring as fucking shit.
Yeah, it's not bad, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing has happened in 3 issues. I have no idea who these characters are. I have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. It has no plot. It's a gorgeous looking book, but it's the worst thing I've read from Millar in a long time, and I really feel like that's saying something.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is Millar's like doing this weird thing now where it's like he's getting an amazing artist. Like, it's coming off of Jupiter's Legacy had Quietly. This has I can't remember his name. Crap.
Oh, Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I love Sean. I love Sean. He did Punk Rock Jesus. He's worked with Morrison on something.
Yeah, whatever that book was, whose name escapes me. Joe the Barbarian.
Yeah, I love Sean Murphy stuff. Punk Rock Jesus is incredible. Yeah, I think we had this conversation before. We found out he did like a Hellblazer book.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, he's like amazing at finding great people, and Millar's one of those people. He has great ideas. He just doesn't always deliver on the premise.
That's because his ideas are all, please give me money, Hollywood. And I can't, I say that, I can't knock him for it. He's found his niche. He is the Adam Sandler of comic book writers. He knows exactly what to do to move the properties. There's a reason so many Mark Millar-based movies don't really resemble the finished product by the end, because he's usually sold the movie rights before he's finished writing the script. So the endings usually look much different than they do from comics to screen. At least with Matthew Vaughn, they're very good friends, and they hang out all the time, and they actually workshop the Kingsman together before anything. They came up with the idea of, like, what if we did Austin Powers but straight? Bring back the nutty Roger Moore era sci-fi James Bond and did it completely straight and had a lot of fun with it. And then Miller went out and wrote the comic, and Vaughn was like, oh shit, you ran with that idea. Okay, well, I'll make the movie. That's awesome. That's cool.
Which I do want to say, though, well, I don't know if we can officially announce it now. Our next podcast is a big X-Men one.
Yeah, we're trying to get through all the news and stuff because in honor of what should have been the publication date for Uncanny X-Men 600, it's since been pushed back. Yeah. We are going to do a X-Men Fest. We're going to talk about our top 10 favorite X-Men, our top 5 favorite X-Men X-Men creative teams and runs, and just general show a lot of love to Marvel's Merry Mutants.
Yes, and why I bring it up is because I've been recently rereading Millar's Ultimate X-Men run, and I just forgot. That's a fun run.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's really fun. Like it's so much. It's so high octane. It's like a Fast and the Furious movie.
It really is.
It really kind of makes no sense, but you're having so much fun, experiencing it that you let a lot of the dumb shit slide.
Exactly. Like that's what. It sounds like an insult, but it's what Millar is like great at. Because I mean, someone who, of course, learned from Morrison very much, and he gets these, like I said, he gets these great ideas. He's just better at making just dumb fun ones, which is perfectly fine. Because when Millar does his best dumb fun runs, they are enjoyable as hell.
Well, he's a great idea man. The idea of what if Batman were the bad guy? God, what was the name of that book? Is the Criminal Wears All White was drawn by, I want to say, Lionel Francis Yu.
I'm not going to remember it. I swear, Millar's got too much stuff going on.
No, it wasn't Francis Yu. Sorry, it was Steve McNiven.
No, I won't change it.
yeah, that one. Good idea. Wow, a little over the top on the execution. Yeah. Super Crooks, really fun. I actually really loved, until the last couple issues, I was super down for Superior. I thought that was a really tremendous idea, and I really wish that he'd not gone so hardcore with it, because Superior is like 2/7 away from being a great children's comic, like a kid, like a comic I could hand to kids and be like, this is modern day Shazam, basically.
And then actually, the first few issues of MPH was also pretty good, I thought.
I actually did not read MPH. I love Duncan Fegredo, but I'd kind of given up on Millar at that point. I got sold on the promotion of Chrononauts, and I got burned pretty bad. So I think Millar and I are done.
Well, crap, we got off from Avengers somehow there.
Oh, it's okay. We've segued into comics pretty well. Do you want to talk more about comics? Do you want to talk about some of the other multimedia that's come out in the last couple of days?
Well,
There's been a fuck ton.
Yeah, there has. Comics-wise, I'm backed up a little bit. Secret Wars, we haven't talked about it here. Secret Wars.
Yeah, we talked about Secret Wars, yeah.
Secret Wars, I will say, for an event especially, has had an amazing start. Is it the best thing ever? No, but for an event, it may be.
Well, issue 1 was definitely Avengers number 45.
Yeah.
It wrapped up that run. I can't help but agree with all of the critics who are saying, really, Secret Wars 2 should have been Secret Wars issue 1. Secret Wars issue 1 should have been either an oversized free comic book day issue, or, better yet, make it a one-shot, call it Time Runs Out. It's the one-shot that leads into Secret Wars, so that people coming in fresh on Secret Wars number 1 can actually come, just like Age of Apocalypse Alpha, just come into this brand new world, things are fucked up, hit the ground running. You know, as maligned as Age of Ultron is, I really thought it had a pretty solid first issue, because it really did just dump you in media res into the story, and I think that's a pretty strong way to start an alternate reality story like this. You know, House of M had the same problem. They spent 20 pages arguing whether or not to kill the Scarlet Witch, and then the last 2 pages putting you in the world, which was basically Peter Parker waking up next to Gwen Stacy. You know, Secret Wars, the entire issue is wrapping up plot threads from 70-some-odd issues of Avengers, and arguably however goddamn many issues of Fantastic Four Hickman wrote as well.
Yeah.
That's not the best way to introduce readers to your, hey, this is the great big Marvel event that you guys need to be reading. I mean, issue 1 sold better than, like, any Marvel comic of like the last decade or something. It set some kind of crazy ass record, which good for it.
Yeah.
But I wish it had a story that brought people into the world and the concept a little bit more.
One thing I do love about, though, is that it does start at where, because like you said, it's basically the wrap up to another story, but because it's the beginning of the story, it's kind of cool knowing that this story starts where most stories would climax.
That's a good point.
And I did love that the first issue ends with the R.I.P. 616 R.I.P. Ultimate.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty clever. But there were like things in issue 1 that made no sense if you hadn't been reading Avengers. Like, why the fuck is the Molecule Man there? If you haven't been reading New Avengers, you don't know, because nobody points to him and says, hey, it's the Molecule Man, nor does any word of dialogue come out of his mouth.
No, and also like Thanos being in charge of the Cabal.
And the Cabal. What the fuck is the Cabal doing there? If you haven't been reading 20 issues of Avengers and 15 issues of New Avengers, you don't even know who the fuck the Cabal is. Again, nothing pointed out in the dialogue saying who they are or what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them say anything either, except maybe Thanos is like,
Yeah, pretty much. Although, you texted me, and I know you loved it. How freaking great was that 4 or 2 Punisher panels in that issue?
Oh, the page of Punisher was the best thing ever.
Yeah, that was.
And it made me want Jonathan Hickman to stop being so cerebral and just write a goddamn dumb as shit Punisher run.
Yeah, just.
Please, just give us a Mac Bolan Punisher comic, Jonathan Hickman.
Oh, what was that line? I can't remember the exact line, but something about, I can't take the bullets with me.
No, it was, they say you can't take it with you. So what am I going to do with all these bullets?
Exactly. Just him with Kingpin and everyone having this big last party for...
Yeah, it's basically the Scourge scene from that 80s Captain America comic, but with, actual supervillains instead of third-rate wannabe supervillains. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, what he did so well too, it captures like the chaos of that moment so well too, where it's just all these big things happening, and it just cuts to this ground level anti-hero and villains. Just what am I going to do when the world ends? I'm going to kill everybody. Yeah,
and that's Punisher's MO. Anytime they've done a last Punisher story, he's still killing people. Did you ever read the Garth Ennis, Richard Corbin Punisher at the end one shot?
Uh-uh.
It's really fantastic. It was I can't remember if it was during his Marvel Knights Punisher phase or his Punisher Max phase, but it was Garth Ennis doing, they did a bunch of the end stories, and it was, whatever big creators doing the quote-unquote final stories for their whatever character they were best known for. Chris Claremont, of course, got 18 issues, three 6-issue miniseries of X-Men story to do his last quote-unquote X-Men story. But Punisher was done in a 48-page one-shot by Garth Ennis, where the basic story is nuclear wars happened, rich, greedy fat cats have a bunker underground that the Punisher infiltrates while dying of radiation poisoning, and is like, you guys committed the crime of basically allowing this to happen, and then sealing yourselves off to prevent yourselves from being, suffering the consequences for it, and then kills them all as he's dying. It's brutal, but it's awesome.
That does sound awesome. I will have to look it up. And really quick, you touched on, I don't know if we've talked about the Free Comic Day issues a lot either.
I don't think we did.
Like you said, the Marvel Free Comic Day issue this year was the most disappointing one I've had from Marvel in a long time.
I actually skipped it. Once I heard that it was 8 issues of basically filler for Secret Wars, barely touching on the Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And then all the Attack on Titan stuff, I skipped it.
Yeah, I got it just because I have friends that love the Attack on Titan stuff, which is cool, but then it's like, it's a little bit of that story, which I would be fine with that entire, at least issue of that story, because I don't even know, is that coming out in the States?
Yes. Okay. I don't know what the release schedule or anything on it is, but it is coming out in the States. That's
still like, yeah, it was a cheapo Free Comic Day to be like 8 pages of, here's some Secret War stuff, we're building life ships, and then it's like, oh, that's the way to go. Like Divergence had some major issues for DC, but at least it was like, I can see how new people could pick up it and at least know what's going on. That was...
Yeah, and I will say Divergence was worth it just because of the build-up for Jeff Johns' Darkseid War story.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to say... Oh, no, it wasn't the first appearance of Darkseid's daughter. That was Justice League 40. Yeah. But the origin of Darkseid's daughter as kind of a dark side of Wonder Woman, the reverse of Wonder Woman, was really pretty smart. I've got to give that one credit. I'm still not on board the Batman boat.
Yeah. Well, I should say,
the Lois betraying Superman.
Yeah.
Boat. Neither one of those are things that I'm actually interested in any way, shape, or form. But I'm kind of jazzed about Darkseid War. So far, all the lead up to it has been spectacular.
Oh yeah, Darkseid War. I'm shocked by how well Johns is handling these characters. I shouldn't be, but you can see I guess
you should.
A fire. It's like his old school fire lit behind him. Basically, if he's excited to write about these characters.
Well, I kind of feel like he's kind of been pushed to the side since he's been promoted. He's not the premier writer at DC anymore. He doesn't get the cushy, well, maybe not cushy, but he doesn't get the jobs he used to. He doesn't get the praise he used to. Another guy on a podcast I listened to joked, but I'm kind of wondering how funny the joke actually is. The promo for the Superman Unchained hardcover was DC's biggest writer and artist team up for their biggest character, and Jeff Johns is looking at it like, oh, come on, guys. I've got John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you do, but nobody bought your Superman run the way everybody expected it to.
Yeah.
It didn't sell the way everybody expected it to. You're not, Scott Snyder's the golden boy right now. For better or worse, he's the guy. Green Lantern used to support 3-4 titles a month, and it doesn't anymore. That franchise, Rebirth, doesn't sell like it used to. War of the Green Lanterns doesn't sell like it used to. I think Blackest Night is still selling as well, but a lot of his legacy.
Although Flash Rebirth is still doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think
to the show.
Been a real revitalization of the Flash for some reason. You know,
some small reason.
Some CW. Small reason that I don't know if anybody could put their finger on. Couldn't possibly be the TV show that had a giant gorilla on it because that's fucking amazing.
Also, you know what? I know you're not on board. I am loving. Of course, I'm loving the Batman thing, but I'm loving how Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo at this point are just like, they're doing whatever the hell they want with Batman. Like, that was a very, I can only think Superior Spider-Man, which I know was a big influence on this coming arc. But, like that same kind of feeling of, this is just weird. I don't know if it's good weird or bad weird yet.
Right. Though I will say, a friend of mine at the comic store I go to, my LCS, he made a very salient point in that if No Man's Land and Nightfall hadn't happened, there would be no Batman stories today, because every Batman story since those two has been a reflection of those two in some way. And Year Zero was very much a take on No Man's Land. And you can kind of feel like Gordon's new Batman in the mechanized Batsuit definitely feels like, again, at best an homage, and at worst, maybe a ripoff of Jean-Paul Valley's Batman costume.
Come on, that's always trying to always trying to always trying to say Snyder's ripping people off.
But, I don't know. I'm that issue 40 pissed me off, dude.
I know.
But we've had that argument.
Yeah, you can, if people want to hear that, go back and podcast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was last episode.
Yeah, but no, it's just I think more. I'm just more excited because it's, like you said, seeing people at least try things with Batman that no matter what they're doing, it's like, I love when people just don't care what people think, and they've definitely gotten to that point where, like, you know what, we're going to write what we want to write.
Well, and there's something to be said for, it's not Batman investigates a murder,
yeah,
and then there's a twist, and then Robin or Batgirl or one of the family shows up and he's like, I don't need your help.
Yeah.
And then later in the issue, he gets their help. I mean, there's definitely a standard Batman story that is perfectly fine, but there's something to be said for not going in that direction again. So, no argument on that. But also, I feel like I'm making salient points too, so neener.
Yeah. Although, I heard an interesting, Scott Snyder did a Q&A recently, and he said something really interesting. The fact that they asked him, if he would deal with Damian losing his dad in the issue a lot, and he said the reason Damian hasn't played a big part in his Batman run is, I guess, Damian's about the same age as his son, so it's very hard for him to write anything about Damian because it gets way too emotional. So
I can totally buy that.
Yeah, so he said that Damian there will be some dealing with it, but that'll be more left in other comics with Damian.
Right, and if I remember correctly, Tomasi is off the Bat books at this point, right?
He's writing the Arkham Knight game comics.
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
Glad he's getting work. And Arkham Knight is selling really well, at least where I work.
Yeah.
But, it really feels like he never got his time to shine on Batman and Robin. He kept getting overwritten, and then they killed Damian on him, and then they took Carrie Kelly away from him, and then shoved Two-Face on him, and then his Damian superpower redemption story got cut off at the knees, and he just never really got a chance to really tell his story.
No.
I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah, I don't feel too sorry. He's making money.
Yes.
But I do know he's an amazing writer, and his Batman and Robin was better than I think anyone expected it to be, and I mean those first every volume of Batman and Robin is amazing, but the first three, I believe, are really, really, really solid, good work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And amazing.
He had the best and pretty much the only coherent Death of the Family tie-ins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they're all good. And crap, his, talk about Moment of Shine, it was his, was it? Yeah, his Death of Damien issue, the silent issue, was amazing.
Yeah, and the issue before that, where everybody was dreaming, I thought was incredibly strong and a great denouement for the character.
Although I have heard his Arkham Knight comic is pretty good, and I will say that, on a side note, that game is looking better and better. They now say I had to pre-order it because Red Hood that will have mission packs in it. But the design for Red Hood in it looks incredible and fits that world so well. Like, I love the design for him. It's basically like almost like a Superboy look, but with this weird-looking red mask and a white jacket with literally a red hood.
Nice.
But that looked incredible. But GameStop exclusive, folks. Yeah.
We need sponsors.
Yeah, we do. Peter J. Tomasi, I hope he does get another chance of like an OGN or something where he can just do his thing. It would be nice for him to have his chance at whatever he wants to tell, because you can tell he definitely has an amazing Batman story in him, like a classic one, at least one classic tale in him.
Absolutely, and he was probably the only writer to get what Morrison was trying to do with Damian.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've said that to people before, but if they want a continuation of Batman and Robin, like what Morrison was doing, it really is. I mean, not just in name and title, but his Batman and Robin is a continuation of that. It is a straight up that, and it's an evolution of the Damian character that Morrison started.
Absolutely.
What else? There was a lot of Suicide Squad pictures came out, and once again, there has been some hate on the internet, but it doesn't seem as much as normal.
I think people are pretty much resigned to the idea of whether or not they're going to see it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this. I'm reserving any judgment until I see a trailer.
Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of the group shot. I just some of the makeup looks unfinished, I guess.
The group shot
didn't seem spectaculer.
The group shot was an odd one. I don't know why they decided to do it that way. David Ayer, he's doing a weird thing where he's releasing a ton of photos of it, and I think he's just trying to combat any set photos or any leaks. And I can respect that, I understand that, but at the same time, like you said, it's so early on that you know there's going to be a lot of CG involved. You know there's going to be a lot of post-production involved. I don't know why they're showing us this stuff when you can tell it's not done yet. I mean, there's a reason why Harley Quinn, Slipknot, and Deadshot look the best. It's because they're the ones that require the least amount of work in post-production.
Yeah, that's actual makeup. That's all they need.
I am shocked at how straight from the comics Katana is, though.
Yeah, it is kind of nice to see just straight up comics costumes.
That's
again, for DC, because there's not something they're traditionally very strong with.
That's what we can talk about. They officially announced New Mutants.
Yeah, and it's by the Fault in Our Stars guy, which means we're probably looking at a YA-themed New Mutants movie, which, again, totally down for. Something we've kind of talked about a little bit when we talked about the Supergirl trailer in text. I am so happy to see comic book properties that are not pointed at me as a 33-year-old white dude. There's a New Mutants movie, and it is probably going to be for teenagers. Awesome sauce. Yeah. There's a Supergirl TV show coming out that is clearly aimed at a female audience while not being patronizing to that female audience. Fucking great.
We talked about some text, and the more I see it, the more I'm curious. I know that with all the CW shows, they officially announced that they're not connected to the DC universe, cinematic universe at all. Knowing this is on CBS.
They said they initially said that Supergirl being on CBS was not going to be connected to the CW universe. They have since walked that back.
Okay,
it is actually going to be, even though it's on a different network, it is going to be tied to the Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow universe.
I'm also confused just because the Supergirl one, just from how they're referenced and stuff, is very, very like Man of Steel and phrasing at least connected.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like, while it's definitely Superman referential, I don't necessarily feel it's Man of Steel referential.
Well, I would say that one line. That one line is, straight out of Man of Steel. Where his hands, it's like, oh, it's even got the S on. It's like, oh, and it says the exact same line that Henry Cavill says in Man of Steel.
Well, she doesn't say it stands for hope. She says it's my family crest, which is true, and that's something from Mark Waid's Superman 12-issue miniseries, whose name escapes me. That's
Birthright.
not Secret Origin. I'm sorry?
Birthright.
Yes. Yeah, it's straight from Superman Birthright. It's not necessarily from Man of Steel.
True, but Man of Steel is also very Birthright. In a bad way, but in a way.
Right, yeah.
So
Man of Steel also acknowledged Smallville, or not Man of Steel, Birthright also acknowledged Smallville as being in continuity to a certain extent. So, there's all kinds of different ways you can touch on these things.
That's true.
But, I feel like if they really wanted to make the Man of Steel connection with Supergirl, you would have had a lot more people, instead of being just completely in awe of Superman, you would have had that mixed reaction of, oh, you're Superman's cousin?
I'm just hoping it's after Batman vs. Superman is what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Although, what else came out? The Legends of Tomorrow trailer came out. The trailer wasn't great, but the
trailer
idea
is shit. the concept and characters involved are exciting. I am like I've said. I think I've told you like 3 times now. I am 100% sold on that show, despite the fact that it is one of the worst trailers I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's a very TV show trailer. Is the only way I can put it. It's very like a.
Well, every line of dialogue out of Rip Hunter's mouth is like exposition.
Yeah, it's like
British exposition.
It's literally from Rip Hunter especially. It's literally like, hey, it's Doctor Who giving advice.
Right.
It's like
the companion Doctor Who giving advice.
Yeah, maybe, but they're Doctor Who. Hey, you could argue, but I won't make that because I was going to say something about
you almost walked into some dangerous territory there, sir.
Sorry, I've been hanging around people that love Doctor Who but don't like Capaldi, so I almost went to territory. But anyway, I love that Vandal Savage is in it.
Vandal Savage is the perfect villain. Yeah. It is a weird team to put together, but I love those characters and I love the actors playing them. Like, honestly, I don't give a shit if they're trying to make them anti-heroes. The actors playing Captain Cold and Heatwave are so awesome and work so well together that sure, I'll watch them in this. Fuck, whatever.
The only problem I had with it was they show the trailer, and it's more CW's fault, not the show, right after the freaking Flash episode where it's called Captain Cold basically says, I'm a villain and I'll always be a villain.
Right. Well, I think they may have been seeding that, though, as to be like, Cold that's how Cold thinks about himself, and that this is going to be his redemption show. Which, whatever. Yeah. Again, what is it? Dominic Purcell? Whoever plays Cold is just electric in that role, and if this means I get to see him be Captain Cold more and wear that dumb parka and use that awesome freeze gun and just be a live action Captain Cold in every way, shape, and form, I'm down. I'm super down.
Oh, we can also talk about that. There's all the Green Lantern rumors going around.
Oh, I have not heard any of these Green Lantern
Have rumors. You not? Well, early on in the Flash series, they talked about how every Easter egg that's there, for the most part, is there because they're going to do something with it. If it's a flat-out Easter egg like the Grodd stuff, right? They're not just teasing fans to tease them. They're normally there for there. Well,
there's been a lot of Ferris Air stuff.
Exactly. A lot of Ferris Air, and in the newest Flash, there was a dialogue about it being closed down, and why was it closed down? It was closed down because the test pilot went missing.
Oh. See, I'm like 3 episodes behind on Flash and Arrow, so
I apologize for a small spoiler there.
Oh, that's a tiny spoiler. That's okay. I love it. That's excellent.
And there's been a lot of rumor that there may be Green Lantern either show or cameo or something, just because of all that. Because they've also mentioned an Arrow, they mentioned it in a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are theorizing it could be like Hal Jordan either before the power or getting the power, or just almost like Firestorm when you see him here and there. Just because, let's face it, Green Lantern would cost way more than they have a budget for.
Yeah, I doubt he'll get his own spinoff, but if they can do like the occasional Green Lantern appearance, then he's like, okay, gotta go, got an emergency in sector, 2012, and then he flies off, and then he comes back every like 6 episodes and does, Green Lantern. They do the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, punching bag arrow / giant, punching.
And with that Arrow, I know you said you're behind, so I won't spoil stuff, but getting ever closer to actually being called Green Arrow, which is awesome. Just so sneakily getting there eventually. He'll eventually get there. And of course, the thing I'm most excited about in the whole realm of this whole news and stuff is if we're doing a New Mutants thing, if we're doing Age of Apocalypse, we're doing Deadpool, we're doing all this stuff. I think I'm almost guaranteed to get at least Cable or Kid Omega soon.
Yeah, I really think Cable is probably the one you're going to see before any of those.
I believe so, and I can't see, just because I can't. They already have Bishop, and I can't see them doing Age of Apocalypse and Deadpool without Cable in it in some capacity.
I'm shocked Cable hasn't been announced for the Deadpool movie already. He works as such a perfect foil for the character. It seems like at least Deadpool 2 needs to be some kind of weird-ass buddy time cop.
That's like the perfect Deadpool film. Not only because I'm a huge Cable fan, but if it's a buddy cop time travel movie with Deadpool and Cable, basically Back to the Future with just those two.
Right, yeah, there's so many. The thing is, they're really... the Odd Couple. I mean, they're the mutant Odd Couple, and they work so so well as foils for each other that you can literally inject them in any situation and put time travel in it, and it works.
Oh, yeah, it'd be... Especially knowing how fourth wall breaking is and how they've already introduced time travel in the X films. Mm-hmm. I just see Deadpool and him having a ton of fun with that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
especially with, if they got the CGI right, you could do one of those weird Deadpool things where he just kind of randomly shows up in another, in a scene from another X-Men movie and just kind of hangs out behind the scenes. The absolute best issue of Deadpool, by far, it's early on, it's within the first couple of years of Joe Kelly's Deadpool run, but it's basically an issue where Deadpool goes and travels back to issue 52, I think, of Amazing Spider-Man. And Ed McGuinness actually draws it in very much a John Romita-ish style, and Deadpool uses his image inducer to impersonate Peter Parker, and it literally is Deadpool dicking around in an issue of Spider-Man from the 1960s. I really feel like the way CGI and footage from the other films is handled, I feel like you could probably inject Deadpool into some of the other scenes, maybe
sure.
something from X-Men Last Stand or something, and really mock that film or those films and that legacy.
You could. There's no reason why that couldn't be done or would be done, especially knowing.
And then have Cable chasing him down for disrupting the time stream.
Exactly. I mean, and I've talked crap about Ryan Reynolds before, but knowing how much love this guy seems to have for Deadpool and how passionate he is for him, and how dead on everything we've seen about this project has been to Deadpool, I see him pushing for stuff like that. Honestly.
Absolutely, I can definitely see that as well. And I'm a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, and a lot of it is he genuinely cares about this character.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he has fought for his character for 5 years, and even after a horrible movie, didn't give up on him.
Exactly.
Which is, if Carl Urban has taught you anything, fighting for a comic character for a long time can be hard.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and that's another one where you're just kind of like, we appreciate your service, man.
Pretty much.
It may never happen, but we love that you love being this guy, and we love watching you be this guy.
Speaking of that Matt Ryan and the showrunners for Constantine are still fighting hard on Twitter to find a place for Constantine.
And apparently Stephen Amell is still pushing for a Constantine Arrow crossover.
Which, I could see Constantine with Arrow just because it is darker. That's my only thing with Constantine is I could see him, like the Lucifer trailer also came out, I could see him fit in that world perfectly, of course, because, I mean, it's an easy crossover.
Right, exactly.
But,
and, there's been enough weird supernatural shit in Arrow at this point that Constantine wouldn't be completely out of place.
My only problem with him is, like I said, maybe it's because they knew that they were getting canceled, but knowing towards the end of Constantine how like Constantine he was like, it could also be a problem of you kind of have Flash and Arrow, although are incredible shows. They definitely have younger demographics in mind, and having an old bastard like Constantine on the show would be awesome.
They're not playing him as an old bastard either. At least that wasn't the feeling that I got.
Not old, but towards the end he definitely does some bastard things.
Okay.
Like I said before, did you ever watch the Newcastle episodes?
No, I only watched the first two.
God damn it, Darren. Well, like I said, they straight up do the Gary. It's spoilers. I'm a spoiler because you've read the comics and it's been too long. They straight up do the whole where he's got what's his name? His friend Gary, whatever, where he has a hunger demon.
Yeah.
And he he attracts it to it, and the show straight up does it where Constantine tricks his friend and captures the hunger demon in him and kills him. Or like holds his hand till he dies, but does this horrible, horrible thing,
right? And
has the demon possess this guy because it's the only way to do it. But he also does it in the most asshole-ish way, and it's like because the whole time he's making it look like he's going to sacrifice himself. He's going to sacrifice himself, and the time comes, and it's Gary sacrificing himself.
Right.
But so I could see that being a problem. At the same time, God, I want it to happen because Matt Ryan plays an amazing Constantine.
It was pretty solid. I'll probably rent it when it comes out.
Yeah, I gotta say you can't give quite the fair assessment if you've only seen 2 hours of him.
Well, I feel like I've given Gotham a pretty fair assessment. I only watched the pilot of that.
That's a bit different because Constantine at least gave you some hope for a good character.
That's true.
The Constantine show didn't quite patronize the fans.
Yeah, I felt like they did a pretty massive gear shift in the second episode to make it more like the Constantine that I grew up reading. So it definitely felt like it was built for fans.
Yes, I will say if you start honestly past episode 2, 3 and forward, with the exception of the Halloween episode, because I think the Halloween episode was shot like originally intended to be the second episode, but then as TV does, they just flipped the script on them. Instead of that, like all the Zed stuff, is really good and very much Hellblazer, not Constantine from today's comics, but Hellblazer.
Cool. Well, when it comes out on DVD, I'll rent it. Or if it comes out on Netflix, I'll for sure catch it.
Yeah, and I hope so, because we've said it before, we both love that character. It's a character that needs to exist, and it's a character that DC has and should flaunt, because if they want to compete with Marvel, Marvel doesn't have anyone in that that fits that role nearly as well.
No, they don't really have the street-level magician character. Their magic is nebulous enough that really the only character that handles it is Doctor Strange, and even Doctor Strange can't. It's the old saw. Every comic writer has a Doctor Strange pitch. Almost no comic writer is going to get to pitch it because nobody wants to do a Doctor Strange series. Nobody wants to buy a Doctor Strange series.
No, that's true, and it's something. Yeah, Marvel has never done as well. That's the one thing I think why I've tended to go towards DC. And we said before, Marvel's very science-based. DC's very magic-based in a lot of their stuff.
Right.
Even core of the characters, how they came about originally, stuff like that. At the same time, that's why I think Marvel tends to have the better science characters, and DC tends to have the better magic characters. And God, I just want a Constantine Zatanna movie or something, or show. I want it to happen, Derek. Let's make it happen. Are you still there?
Can you not hear me?
Oh, no, I didn't hear you for a second there. You went...
Okay. I wasn't sure if I had the mic on or off. There was a Constantine Zatanna couple cosplaying at Yellow City this last weekend.
I didn't see them. Darn it.
Yeah, I think they were there after you were there. The Constantine was pretty good. The Zatanna was okay, but it was cute that they put something together and were actually together and walking around. And yeah, I really would like to see Zatanna in the Constantine universe, especially if they do ever bring it back for season 2.
I hope that
would make me tune in for sure.
Zatanna was teased. Her father was teased a lot. Dr. Fate, like his helmet was there. The House of Mystery was there. House of they had so much there, and you can tell what I love. You can tell they were building up to some massive stuff, and they were doing it right. They were doing it to where you were going to care, but the way TV is, they murdered that show, put it on a Friday night, and let it die.
Yeah.
And then wondered why they didn't get amazing viewership like other superhero shows.
Exactly. Yeah, it's also, I feel like the network isn't the best place to put a superhero show, which is my one fear for Supergirl. Yeah. Because it's very much a CW show, and it's on CBS. It is on Old People Game Show Network. Yeah, and honestly, especially for Constantine, I hope they go to Netflix. Hopefully DC will look at what Marvel with Daredevil and say, we need to compete with that. Constantine season 2, because if Constantine could be as dark as Daredevil and not have to I know Matt Ryan, the showrunners, they wanted Hellblazer. I mean, we saw a ton of interviews where they were fighting just for him to smoke. They were fighting for him to do all this stuff. If they could not give a crap and do whatever they wanted to, we would see some amazing stuff. Yeah.
Which I want. Like you said, I want the fun. I think that's why I was getting that with Marvel earlier. I want the fun comics to be the main thing. The movies that are fun and enjoyable to be the main movie, because that's how comics, I think, should be.
Right. But
I do want some dark here and there. I do want the Daredevils, the Punishers, the Batman, the Constantine every now and then.
Right. And, that's how they are in comics, too. I mean, you've got different flavors of ice cream, and it's totally cool. And I think it's a nice dichotomy to have, one kind in one universe, or one media, and one kind in another media. But it does seem like DC has it backwards, because they have all their fun, entertaining, smart, hip, soap opera-y shows, and then their movies are doom.
Yeah, very much. Oh! Speaking of that, did you hear about what Tom Hardy was asking to Marvel?
supposedly, I just heard that he wants to be in a Marvel property, and now everyone is screaming, "Make him the Punisher."
No, Tom that what came out. Tom Hardy in an interview where he said he wanted to be the Punisher.
Oh, okay.
But still, after we talked about before the podcast. I know you haven't seen it. After seeing Fury Road, God, I want him to be Punisher.
I think everyone wants him to be Punisher, and that's totally fine with me.
Here's the weird thing: he's also signed to do a DC project soon.
Well, he was going to be in Suicide Squad. He dropped out.
He had to drop out because he was shooting something. Maybe it was Fury Road. Something was doing stuff. There was a overlap in something he was already part of. But anyway, so he's officially said that whatever he's doing at DC, as he put it, is balls to the wall, crazy, and the weirdest thing they've done by far. Which is I'm fine with.
Prez.
Huh?
Prez.
Oh, that would be weird.
Or Omega Man. Or Omega Man.
Oh, that would be...
Ooh, Metal Man. Ooh! He could be Dr. Magnus.
Actually, they did announce the Metal Man thing forever ago. That, they were working on that project, so...
Yeah. Will Magnus.
Oh, we could do some Doom Patrol.
Or, Metamorpho.
Ooh.
Tom Hardy as Metamorpho. Can you dig it?
This is what we need. We've seen speculation out the wazoo for... I did love that everyone... Although, because of the world we live in, everyone is now so confused. Like, oh, so he's going to play Bane? And it's like, I don't think he will play Bane.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's weird to me that people... I know it's because we're in the thick of it, but it's always odd to me how many people don't realize that, oh yeah, that's not in the same universe. The Dark Knight trilogy is its own thing.
Right.
It's just something, I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand, but it is.
Yeah, well, there also sometimes other factors blur the lines. Liam Neeson actually said that he wanted and would have been perfectly happy to play Ra's al Ghul on Arrow.
Yeah.
He wanted to come back for that role, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was budgetary or they did want to separate. Keeps Arrow and Dark Knight separate, but they ultimately did not go that direction.
That would have been
supposedly
awesome.
He was completely down for reprising that role.
That's the one thing, Arrow, I'm not extremely happy with the way they're doing Ra's. Like the whole that turn into that he's Ra's al Ghul, but he may not be the Ra's al Ghul from the comics, and that whole wink that, oh, we can't do Batman stuff, so he may not be that guy.
Right. Well, and then you've had Nyssa al Ghul.
Yeah.
And not to mention Talia, so it's all. We had the first Canary who was not Canary, but we actually got our Black Canary, and now she's going to be White Canary, which is an interesting twist. Which again, totally down for. It's much like with DC and Jason Todd's Resurrection and who Dr. Hurt actually was. They'll walk it right up to the line and be like, "Yep, we're totally doing this. This is who it is. Yep, this is what we're doing." No, we're not doing that. We're not actually doing that. Haha, fool! How'd you feel about it? Are you guys okay with that? Is that can you handle that? Okay, here it is for real. Jason Todd was totally just Clayface, except it was totally Jason Todd because you guys were okay with it being Jason Todd. Is Dr. Hurt the devil? Is it Bruce Wayne's father? Is it just the actor?
Who knows?
Yeah, we don't actually want to commit to any one of those answers.
Like we've said before, anything involving the weirder side of Batman or Morrison characters, though, people don't want to touch them.
Yeah.
It's like pretty much even if it's not a Morrison character, if he touches them and does one weird thing with them, they're like, let's not do that.
Well, it's the ultimate Morrison dichotomy, and it's something we've touched on before, but I think it's worth repeating here because it's after midnight and I'm tired.
Yeah.
Morrison, it's the weird catch-22 that he loves putting toys in the toy box, but they are such distinct, unique, interesting Morrisonian toys that people are legitimately afraid to play with him.
Yeah.
So he wants to leave the universe bigger than how he found it, but people are so scared to do something with what he's put in there that more often than not they just get kind of sidelined. Unless you've got your Peter Tomasis, your Joss Whedons, people who will play with those ideas and stories and do something. But again, we're talking about Joss Whedon or Peter Tomasi, who was one of the big rising stars. He was co-writing Jeff Johns for a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean that's not a dude with little street cred himself.
No, he's proved himself time and time again.
So yeah, the fact that you have to go to your next level after Morrison is one of the biggest writer-directors of all time and one of the biggest writers DC has had on board in the last 10 years. You're not necessarily saying, yeah, everybody's okay with playing with these characters.
Yeah. No, that's why. I mean, that's also why Marvel treated New X-Men the way it did. Why DC kind of treats certain things the way they do, where they're like, Marvel's more got a that didn't happen kind of thing. DC's got the more, let's pretend like it did happen, but we didn't see it.
Right. It totally happened, but here's something shiny.
Yeah.
You like the shiny thing, right?
I just thought of something. I want Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Deadman.
Huh. That's an interesting casting decision, sir. Explain yourself.
Watch, crap, what was his movie not too long ago about porn?
Oh, yeah. That great movie whose name escapes me.
Yeah, that was really, John, it was a name, that's all I remember.
Don Juan.
There you go. Something like that. Don John.
Don John.
Yeah, that movie. That would be my reason why.
It's a good movie.
Yes, I would say put him in tights and he's dead, man. The little white face, mate.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard anything going forward on his Sandman movie.
Yeah, we've heard. I mean, it's still happening. I hate to say it, I think he's following the same thing that what Neil Gaiman's fallen in for the past 20 years trying to make the Death movie, is that everyone wants it. There's a lot of people interested in it, but because of the nature, it's either way too cheap or way too expensive. There's either too much hype or not enough hype. There's no middle ground with Sandman because of what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's his problem, and especially now with all the DC movies moving forward, it's going to be hard for people to differentiate, or at least what I'm guessing the executives are thinking is that, that this is a DC film, but it's not this kind of film.
Right. It's not fitting what we're trying to build for our universe.
Yeah, and I mean, from what I've heard, he's got some amazing script ideas and stuff going on. I mean, I know Neil Gaiman's talked highly of it, and there's been everything good. I feel like every time Gaiman talks about it, I think he's just given up on the idea of any of those becoming a movie.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Weird swerve with no lead-in or anything. Just wanted to mention this before we go, because we've been recording for quite some time.
Yes, we have.
Big bit of Marvel story news came out lately. Have you read Thor number 8, where the new Thor has been revealed?
No, but I know who it was. I read the day ahead when Marvel posted it because it got leaked.
I did not. I actually managed to read it in story, and I was very satisfied to have. Do you want to go ahead and spoil that? I mean, it'll be a few days after it comes out.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, man.
Podcast will hit. Okay, so I just want to say I've actually been reading the last 7 issues of Thor prior to this with a lot of trepidation, because it just, again, kind of like the whole Hawkeye thing, it was so clearly set up to be Rosalind, the new character that Jason Aaron created for the prior Thor series, that if it turned out to be her, because it was so telegraphed, I was going to be disappointed, but I couldn't figure out the swerve. So when it swerved, and it was the last page reveal, and like I said, spoiler alert from here on out, the last page reveal, the incredibly cancer-ridden Jane Foster has gotten the Hammer of Thor and is going to serve as Thor until, she dies, which apparently being Thor is also exacerbating her cancer.
Yeah.
That was astonishing, and it did such a wonderful job of playing on the Jane Foster subplot that's been building since issue 13 of the prior series, that I have to tip my hat to Jason Aaron and offer a hearty bravo. I am really, really impressed, and for a series that I was kind of on the fence about almost, because I wasn't sure how I felt about, not how I felt about a female Thor, but how I felt about the way that character was being handled. This reveal has brought me right back on board. I'm right back in the fold. I cannot wait to see where the story goes next.
No, yeah, like when I read that reveal, I was like, for one, it's genius because of what's been going on in Thor. 2, it ties it not even on purpose, but ties it more to where people who only know the cinematic universe at least know who all these characters are, or the main ones now, and it's a twist that people genuinely, like you said, because they had handled that in a previous issue where a lot of people thought it was her, and you see her and she's cancer-ridden, and you're like, oh. It reminded me almost of I love Batman Beyond. This is a weird comparison, but there's an early episode where there's some crimes going on, and if this is loosely off memory, but I remember they think Bane is connected somehow, and it's in the future. So they go to where Bane's supposed to be at, and it's like this nursing home, and you see Bane, and from years of Venom, he's like this old, decrepit, crippled man, and
Right.
like, oh, I guess it's not him. I'm like, I had the same kind of feeling when it first showed her. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not her. That can't be. And then
Right.
the reveal, and then that not only is this a 1-2 punch of, oh yeah, she's Thor, but it's also the hammer may be making it worse every time she picks it up.
Right.
It's like, oh,
But she's a nurse, and her first, her
Yeah.
Hippocratic oath is to help people to do no harm, and that's exactly what she's going to go out doing. She can't fight the cancer, so she's fighting everything else to try to make other people's lives better. And it's such a beautifully told story. And like I said, Jane's cancer was first revealed, and I want to say issue 13 of the Thor God of Thunder run going before this.
Yeah.
And it had a really great moment where Thor goes to visit her where she's being treated, and I really wish I could remember the exchange, but it's something to the tune of, this is something Thor can't fight. He can't fix this, he can't cure this, and even if he could go to the other realms and find some sort of magical cure-all for this cancer, she doesn't want him to, because that's cheating. And it's a beautifully written, beautifully done scene, and that's kind of always been hanging in the back of my head. So I had Jane dismissed immediately.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It seemed like that was the direction and subplot for her character, and I just like her character in that issue where Thor confronts her about the idea that she could be the new Thor. I was just as insulted as she played, because I was like, this is not her story, but it is, and it makes perfect sense. And
Exactly.
everything about that issue was pretty much perfect.
This
for me.
is I love when writers use, because now it makes you want to immediately go back and reread everything, because like you said, that confrontation, I think everyone had that same gut reaction of why would you accuse this woman of being Thor? Why would you like, look at her? And like you said, how she reacts to it, I think everyone's the same way, and you go back like, oh, she's playing us all. Just a little bit of, oh, that's sneaky son of a gun.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, awesome thing when people can do that, and much like, you'll hate the comparison again, but like the Batman thing, when people can hold a spoiler off for even if they don't hold, even if it's a small leak, but when it's not something, when you can still be slightly surprised by what happens. It's something in comics today is genuinely amazing. Like, just got leaked, but it got leaked the day before it came out, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, this is something. I mean, like you said, the Joker Batman thing also got leaked. It's going to happen, but when you can be genuinely shocked and surprised by something major like this, and I mean, Marvel's been teasing it, but there hasn't been posters of who's the new Thor, and it had Thor, Jane, and Rosalind or something.
Right.
It's like,
or kind of on that note, if you remember the issue where Hawkeye died at the very beginning of Brian Bendis' Avengers, it's like the cover is like, one of these Avengers will die, and it was Hawkeye and 3 Avengers who did not appear in that comic.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Oh, but I just realized, we have been recording for a while.
Yeah, this has been one of our longer, ramblier episodes, probably because it is late and we are exhausted. Ooh. But also, we've been gone for a week. We wanted to touch on a lot of stuff, and then next week is going to be a theme episode. Yeah. So,
I do want to say, I bought my ticket today to go see Gerard Way in Austin, and I'm extremely excited. And
I am happy for you, sir.
His new tour, because I am thinking Umbrella Academy 3 is going to come out soon, because his new tour, he is selling Umbrella Academy shirts on tour.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I'm going to beg and plead for him to be on the podcast, because that would be incredible.
That would be amazing. We've had a celebrity guest. We actually have a precedent now.
Yes. If we can get Gerard Way on here, I don't know what I'll do, but it'd be fun. I'll be a complete nervous wreck. But it would make sense, too, because he writes comics. So there's an excuse.
I am totally down. And on that note, I figure we should probably go ahead and pull the plug on this particular episode.
Yes.
As always, we beg tearfully and plead, send us an email, blahblahpodcast@gmail.com.
Really quick.
Yo,
I have one crap. We didn't get this. Who sent this to me? Someone sent this to me on Twitter. Crap. I can't remember the name.
Twitter.
Yeah, they sent me a question, and crap, I can't believe I didn't remember this earlier. Quick question: if you could trade, this will be hard. If you could trade any teams from like DC or Marvel to work on a book for the other company that they're not working for, who would you want?
Oh, that's a great question. So someone working at DC or Marvel currently, what book would I want to take them off of, and what book from the rival company would I want to see them on?
I got an answer. I want Snyder and Capullo on Wolverine.
That's a good answer. That's a very good answer. Jeez.
Sorry for springing that on you. I forgot about it until you.
No, it's cool. My knee-jerk reaction would be G. Willow Wilson and Adriana Fana on Wonder Woman.
Ooh.
As much as I adore her work on Miss Marvel, I really want to see like the best female writer in comics working on the top female character in comics. I realize that Miss Marvel is a very personal story for Wilson, and I wouldn't want to take her off that book, but I would love to see that creative team handle Wonder Woman as well.
Oh, you made that Gail Simone on Miss Marvel.
Oh, wow, that would be an interesting flip, yeah. Yeah, I like that. Also,
yeah, there's some. It's a. I'll have to say it next time I ever ask that question. I apologize to this person. That was a good question.
It is a fantastic question, and I would really. I can't. Oh. The way with Zdarsky doing such a good job revitalizing Howard the Duck, I'd kind of like to see what he'd do with Ambush Bug.
Be cool. I'd see. Ooh, I would like to see Hickman on Justice League Dark.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good fit for a Hickman on a book, and I think Justice League Dark would be probably the best one. Yeah,
that'd be I guess slightly. It's almost like their Illuminati, I guess, but
right. Controversial choice. I totally acknowledge this is a controversial choice, but I'm dead 100% serious. Brian Bendis and Stuart Immonen on Superman.
That would be interesting, though.
I know. It would either be amazing or it would be fucking terrible.
Yeah, that would. Ooh, Jeff Johns on Thor. I'll put that as my controversial one. A, controversial. B, I can totally see that working. Who would you want for the art? Would you go? Would you try to get Jim Lee to actually, pencil a few issues in a row? If it were me with Jeff Johns, I'd pair Doug Mahnke, especially on a Thor book. Oh, I wouldn't prefer for that, but yeah. I wasn't prepared for the artist question. I was only prepared for half of that one. Yeah, I think I'd have to go. I would probably for Thor. Yeah, that'd be a hard one too because it depends on so many things.
Well, I feel like Doug Mahnke did such a good job on his various Justice League runs. He really gets the big, larger than life characters, but still keeping them human or human-like. Yeah. Actually, speaking of, Doug Mahnke would be an amazing Captain America artist.
That's true. Crap! His name is escaping me. Ivan Reis.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You've sold me on that. Yeah, I buy Jeff Johns, Ivan Reis, Thor. Hell yeah.
There we go. Okay, there you go, sir. Whoever wanted those questions, that would be a.
And thank you so much for tweeting us a question. Yes. Twitter is another way to get a hold of us. If you don't want to shoot us an email at blahblahpodcast@gmail.com. I am at Voodoo Ben.
I am at Hellhound F5.
And one of these days, I'm going to get off my lazy ass and either make us a Facebook page or a web page. So tweet at me and tell me to get off my lazy ass. Yes,
and go buy tickets to see Gerard Way in Austin if you want to go see me.
Yes, or you can see me in 2 weeks at the Dallas Comic-Con.
Oh, that's better.
But I'm sure if you're at the Dallas Comic-Con, you're actually there to see Stan Lee, Carrie Fisher, Nathan Fillion, any of the various Superman people, half the cast of Firefly, Adam West, Burt Ward. It's a big-ass show. We're going to have a very tiny table in Artist Alley. But, yeah, come by and see me.
Yeah. There'll be people there. They'll have fun. I would be going, but I just had my money spent elsewhere.
It happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the show. That's the plugs. I guess we are out for yet another week. We'll
Yes.
see you next week with a X-Men extravaganza.
Yeah, go see Mad Max. It's good.